I love. Okay. That was longer than 10 minutes. Good job. Right. Last solve. So, okay. Save. We have finished part 3. It only took 1.5 hours. So, and how many paint things do I have open? I can just close both of them. Please just close. Okay, and we will now watch. And of course, that's the bomb thingy. Please ignore the bomb.
I did a
Please.
cubing session on CS Timer.
Please ignore the bomb. Please ignore it. Please.
I did a cubing session on CS Timer that lasted an entire year. This session started on July 27th, 2020 and ended on July 27th, 2021. Here are all of the best averages achieved during this session. The average of the session was 8.89, my best time was 4.43, and my worst time was 1 minute and 7.35 seconds. All of these best averages were personal bests at the time of getting them, except for the average of 5 and single time. The total number of solves was 58,004, 119 of which were DNFs. That means that 0.2% of the solves were DNFs, or 2 DNFs in every 1,000 solves. I did an average of 159 solves per day. I like to look at these 4 averages to determine what I'm currently averaging. So at the end of the session, I was averaging about 8.5 to 8.6. I found a website called Quibico Cubing that can show you a lot of different stats about your session. My favorite thing to look at on this chart is my average of 1,000 because you can get an idea of how my overall average decreased over time. In order to understand this graph, you actually need to know that before June 2020, I was averaging 8.2 to 8.5, but then I learned a bunch of new F2L outs and it took me a while to get my average back.
My voice
This is
sucks.
why at the beginning of the session I was averaging high 9. As you can see, the average drastically decreases all the way down to about 9 flat, where it stays for a while. Then it gradually increases to about 9.5, and then suddenly drops down to 8.5. It fluctuates in between 8.5 and 9.0 for the rest of the graph, while occasionally going below 8.5, like right here, which is where I got my best average of 1,000. The histogram shows the frequency of each length of solve, such as the number of 8s, number of 7s, etc. Obviously, the number of 8s is the highest. The most surprising fact was that I got more 7s than 9s. Here are the number of 6s, 5s, and 4s. I got 338 5s, which is 0.6%, or 6 out of every 1,000 solves. I got 13 4s, which is 0.02%, or 2 out of every 10,000 solved. Looking at the distribution of my PB average of 1,000, I got more 7s than 8, and the chance of getting a 6 increased to almost the same chance as getting a 9. This effect is more pronounced in my PB average of 100, where the 7s dominate and the number of 6s is double the amount of 9s. This section shows the progression of your personal best times and averages for that particular session. The pattern here is that the first 2 days of the session you'll break your PBs a million times just because it's a new session. Then after that it will become less frequent. On the first day I got a 530, and on the second day I got a 484. Then 1 month later I got a 482, and then 2 months after that I got a 479. Then it took me 7 months until I finally got a 443, and that's where the PB stood until the end. For me to 3 PB, over time it steadily decreased from 6.76 down to 6.18, and then on May 23rd, 2021, I got my first ever 20.76 down to 6.18. And then on May 23rd, 2021, I got my first ever sub 6 mean of 3. For average of 5, after the first 2 days, it was 7.16. Over the next month, it decreased to 6.80. Over the next several months, it decreased to 6.57, then 6.40, and finally got a 636 average of 5. 19 of which were DNFs. That means that 0, 0. Over the next several months, it decreased to 4.43, and my worst gradually increased the histogram and 4 increased over time. In order to understand I did a cubing session on CS Timer that lasted an entire year. This session started on July 27th, 2020 and ended on July 27th, 2021. Here are all of the best averages achieved during this session. The average of the session was 8.89. My
Ay, 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 ay. Well, if we're halfway done now, that means the video is going to be 6 minutes long. Dang it. Like, what else was there to talk about? How is an entire half of the video talking about the rest of the PBs, top 50, first sub X, and dates histogram? That's all that's left. Plus the final 2 paragraphs, I guess. I literally went over every single part of the first sub X. I went over single, mean 3, average 5, average 12. I went over. That's probably why. Maybe that's why it took forever. Because if you look at sub X, that's a whole paragraph. Top 50 is a paragraph. Mean the PBs section is 2 paragraphs. I'm basically currently done with most of it. I only have one little 2 sentence 3. That's fine.
Only got a 636 average of 5.
Stinking thing. Stop. I can't even see it. How are you supposed to do this?
0, and finally got a 636 average of 5.
Why is it so bad? Why? It wasn't this bad before.
Six mean of 3. For average of 5, after the first 2 days, it was 7.16. Over the next month, it decreased to 6.80. Over the next several months, it decreased.
What? Wait, it's not this bad. It wasn't this bad before. When I watched it before, it wasn't this bad. Like, if you just watch the video I made right here, if you watch this video,
I did a cubing session on CS Timer that lasted in months, which is 0.6%, or 6 out of every 1,000 solves.
So this is the only part that's bad quality. The rest of it is beats. See, look, the quality's fine here.
This section shows the progression of your personal best times and averages for that particular session. The pattern here is that the first 2 days of the session, you'll break your PBs 1,000,000 times just because it's a new session. Then after that, it will become less frequent. On the first day, I got a 530, and on the second line, it increased from 6.76 down to 6.18. Number of 7s, which is 0.6%, or it took me a look at.
Well, I don't know if this will even help, but
I did a cubing session on CS Timer that lasted an entire year. For average of 5, after the first 2 days, it was 7.16. Over the next month, it decreased to 6.80. Over the next several months, it decreased to 6.57, then 6.40, and finally got a 636 average of 5.
there you go. I don't know why. It was just a glitch. Okay. This one I'm looking at right now is PB average of 12. That's exactly what I needed, right?
Finally got a 630.
Here's my progression for average of 12. Time to find. It's probably this one.
For we have 3 PB, over time it steadily decreased from.
Oh,
Over the next several months, it decreased. Here's my progression for average of 12. Here's my progression for average of 12. Every PB starting with 722 was an overall PB.
and I'll probably record.
All PB. Here's my progression for average of 12. Every PB starting with 722 was an overall PB. Here's my progression for average of 12.
Stop being dumb. Damn.
For average of 12. Every PB starting with 722 was an overall PB.
Recording number 40. Number 40. Number 40. Number 40.
And then we have my PB progression for all these other averages. And then we have my PB progression for all these other averages. Progression
308.73. 2.8.
And then we have my PB
Oh, dang it. I forgot 2 things. I hate my life. Dang it. Okay. You know what? This recording can be included. It's 20 minutes long, so whatever. 20-minute long video.